So Valve stated that the next big update that is coming to Dota 2 is gonna be called Crownfall, and in this video I'm going to talk about everything that we can expect from this update, which based on various leaks seems to include an in-game event, the release of the Ringmaster hero and a couple of Arcanas and a bunch of other content. And yes, I know I probably owe you guys an explanation to why I stopped posting for like a year or so, but since that's not really relevant to the topic of this video, I think it's best if we talk about all of that some other time. However, it's worth noting that while I was gone, a lot of things did happen, and some of those things are related to this upcoming Crownfall update. And what's interesting is that I actually found out that this update seems to have been in the works for a couple of years now, and therefore we obviously have a lot to unpack, so without further ado, let's begin. Okay, although this blog post stated that they are currently hard at work on this Crownfall update, they didn't really give us any details about what it might contain. But luckily we don't really have to worry about that because there have been a bunch of previous leaks that will give us some insight about what will happen in this update. And one of the biggest leaks regarding this upcoming Crownfall update comes from the hero minimap sprite sheet, which usually gets updated right before a patch drops to include the minimap icons of upcoming heroes, arcanas and personas planned for that update. And data miners have discovered that this time around they have added 5 new icons, and one of them belonged to the Ringmaster hero who was revealed last year with a trailer stating that he will be released in 2024. So he will probably be released in this Crownfall update because another leak was also discovered stating his scale and offsets right between 2 existing heroes in the alphabetical order. And what's interesting about this hero is that even before his reveal trailer was released, data miners found files revealing that this Ringmaster hero is actually the leaked Puppet Master hero that we have been waiting so long for. So rightfully I'm really excited for this hero's release. And for those of you who don't know, the Puppet Master was one of the many heroes that was leaked in the hero Dataleaks that have been occurring in the past few years. And since I have already made a bunch of videos talking about all of those leaked heroes, I'm not going to discuss about them here, so make sure to check out those videos by using the links in the description if you want more details on this matter. But there is one thing that you must know about these leaked heroes for the sake of this video. You see, after I analyzed all of those leaked heroes, I noticed that every single hero that was released after those Dataleaks occurred have all been heroes who were first mentioned in those leaks and then released into the game. And now this Ringmaster hero also seems to follow that trend because he was found to be the leaked Puppet Master hero. And honestly, I really wanted to make a standalone video talking about the interesting stuff that I found about the Ringmaster through the leaks that happened before his reveal trailer and right afterwards. However, since I never ended up finding the time to make that video, I'll just go over the main things that I found about him because he could be released any day now. So first off, the title Ringmaster refers to a person who directs a circus performance. And since we now know that he was initially leaked as the Puppet Master who had abilities that revolve around manipulating enemies like puppets, there's a pretty good chance that the heroes that you see here are probably being forcefully controlled by the Ringmaster to do his bidding and perform in his circus, suggesting that his in-game abilities will probably stay true to his former title of being the Puppet Master. And if you guys remember, I've always said that this leaked Puppet Master hero could end up being a port of the Hon hero with the same name, who also have a similar theme in his abilities. And evidence does suggest that this Ringmaster will either be a direct port or at least a semi-port of the Puppet Master from Hon. And for those of you who don't know, Hon stands for Heroes of New Earth, which is a game similar to Dota 2 that was shut down a while back. And as you guys may know, I have made many videos explaining why I think the Great Confluence that Voidspirit mentioned upon his release is actually referring to a crossover event where Dota 2 will get content ported over from Hon because that game is now shut down. And you guys can go check out the videos that I made on this topic to know exactly why I say this is the case. But the point is that over the years what I said did come true, because they started introducing skins like the Shadow Shaman skin that made him look and act like his counterpart from Hon. And then they introduced items like the Revenant's Brooch, which is a port of the Hon item called the Harkon Blade. So this upcoming Ringmaster hero could very well be the first obvious Hon hero port coming to Dota 2. And apparently it's pretty much confirmed that he will have an ability called Hex Magic, because it was discovered to have been already slotted into the Rubik's Arcana to have a modified animation when stolen by Rubik. And upon further inspection of these leaked files, there was also a mention of a model change and a box, suggesting that this box-like contraption that you see here is actually the Ringmaster himself, which kinda makes sense given the fact that he does look mechanical. So him transforming into this box-like contraption is totally possible. So yeah, those are the main things that you should know about this hero, but that's just the tip of the iceberg, because I did find a lot of other interesting things about this hero, so if Valve does not reveal those things blatantly upon his release, I might be able to make a video explaining all of those things later on. But anyways, let's get back to that minimap sprite sheet where this Ringmaster is featured with 4 other icons. And these icons are definitely not hero icons, but they belong to 2 separate Arcanas, because you can see that they have 2 versions, which obviously seems to be the alternate styles that Arcanas tend to have. And I know for a fact that these 2 Arcanas definitely belong to the Venturous Spirit and the Skywrath Mage. And the reason why I'm sure that these Arcanas belong to these 2 specific heroes is because a while back there was a file leak that mentioned about a Skywrath mage Arcana. However, that Arcana never ended up getting released, so people just assumed it must have been fake. But since this so-called fake Arcana was actually mentioned alongside the Faceless Void's Arcana, which did end up getting released, I knew for a fact that the Skywrath mage Arcana was definitely not fake, but was probably saved to be released in a later update, which now seems to be this upcoming Crownfall update. And other files relating to this leak suggested that just like how the Pudge Arcana's second style was unlocked by winning games against Rubik, the Skywrath mage Arcana's second style relied on having a Vengeful Spade teammate. But weirdly enough, these same files also mention about having a Skywrath mage teammate, which is kinda odd if these files were just talking about the Skywrath mage Arcana, simply because you can't have two Skywrath mages in the same game, let alone the same team. So although there's no direct reference for a Vengeful Spirit Arcana, this part gives us a hint that she too will get an Arcana with a similar style unlock condition to Skywrath Mage's Arcana. And with that minimap icon leak confirming this fact, we can expect a lot of games with these two heroes in the same team when these Arcanas are released. So the reason why Valve mentioned that the next Arcanas will be a set is probably because the Skywrath Mage aka Dragonus and the Vengeful Spirit aka Shendezer are lovers according to their lore, and therefore their Arcanas are connected to each other. And this isn't surprising because these two heroes have linked cosmetics already, like these skins that share a loading screen together and these two taunts that have a similar theme as well. And it's highly likely that the story of these Arcanas will be presented to us in a form of a novel, because although a lot of people learnt about this Crownfall update when they read this blog post, the people who have been keeping up with the Dota related leaks like me have already been familiar with the name Crownfall for some time now. You see, sometime back there was a leak where data miners discovered that a visual novel called Crownfall was mentioned in the game files, and although there was no info stating what this novel was all about, a lot of people including myself speculated that it will probably be a comic like the ones we had in the past, and this particular one will tell the story of how Shendezer, who was originally meant to be the queen of her people, lost her wings trying to escape the assassins sent by her sister Imperia, who wanted the throne for herself. And this story does fit the novel's name, Crownfall, because Shendezer essentially falls down from a higher status and into the ground as a result of her losing her crown and wings respectively. And the stuff that we discussed in this video, like those minimap icons of the Arcanas and this upcoming update's name being the same as this novel, proves that the community was right all along. And I think the reason why they specifically called it a novel is because unlike previous comics, this one seems to be tied to a cavern crawl like system, because these files mention things like selecting nodes and getting quest pop-ups, and completing these quests seems to reveal nearby nodes just like in a cavern crawl. And the other things mentioned here suggest that the pages of this novel or comic is updated or revealed only when you progress through the steps of this cavern crawl like quest system that is probably connected back to these two heroes, as this novel is about their Arcanas, which also makes me think that this novel will have two separate storylines with each being set through the eyes of these two heroes and are connected to their respective Arcanas, and together it will tell the entire story of Crownfall, which again could be another reason why it's called a novel and not a comic. And actually I wanted to make a video talking about the speculations that I had about the Arcana lore of these two heroes ever since I got to know about the Crownfall novel and the Skywrath Mage Arcana through the leaks that we already discussed. However, I didn't really make that video because if I remember correctly, Muerta was about to get released around that time, so I was too busy making videos speculating about her that I ended up abandoning the video that I was going to make about these Arcanas. And now I sort of regret not making that video, because although these minimap icons were leaked recently and I didn't know about them back then, the look of these Arcana icons does seem to support the speculations that I was going to discuss in that video, which I was originally supposed to post like a year ago, meaning I may have actually predicted what their Arcanas were going to be like but didn't really make a video to prove it. But since this video is about the Crownfall update that is centered around these Arcanas, I'm going to consider this as a second chance that I got to talk about the stuff from that unreleased video, where I went through a bunch of scattered lore related to these two heroes and found out what could end up triggering their Arcana transformation, which I think might actually turn out to be the story of that upcoming Crownfall novel. So let's talk about it. So first off, Dragonus and Shendezer belong to a race of bird-like humanoids called the Skywrath, and as you guys may know, Dragonus is secretly in love with Shendezer, who is the Skywrath princess that is next in line to become queen. However, her sister Imperia, who wants the throne for herself, sends assassins to kill Shendezer, and during this attack, Shendezer loses her wings trying to escape, and I think her losing her wings actually saved her from being killed by Imperia, because it is implied that the Skywrath kind considers their wings as a symbol of status and pride, so it's highly likely that Imperia just gave up the chase and intentionally intentionally let Shenderze escape simply because she knows for a fact that the Skywrath kind will never accept Shenderze as their queen anymore because she is now wingless. And since Shenderze also knows this, she makes a desperate deal with the goddess called Skriok to give her the means to get revenge on Imperia. And this deal turns Shenderze into the vengeful spirit. Meanwhile, we find out that Dragonas was actually oblivious to this entire thing that happened because apparently he was too focused on studying magic to become the Skywrath Mage, which is essentially the title given to the mage who protects Skywrath royalty. And ironically, the reason why he really wanted to become one so badly was to protect Shenderze when she becomes queen. So obviously he feels guilty for not being able to protect Shenderze. And to make it even worse, it is said that Skywrath mages are bound by a magical oath to serve whoever sits on the throne, meaning that since Imperia is now the new queen, Dragonas cannot hurt Imperia and is essentially forced to serve her despite hating her for what she did. However, his law implies that he is trying to find ways to work around his oath and take down Imperia, and Skriok is said to be the only one who knows of his true intentions. And to further support this, the law of this immortal item suggests that he is doing this by indirectly helping Shenderze gain power by giving her weapons like this. And the fact that Shenderze is said to hunt Dragonas with this weapon suggests that she doesn't know that he is secretly helping her. And I think this is all part of his plan because even though this weapon is clearly stated to have been forged by Dragonas, he seems to have intentionally named it after Skriok to avoid suspicion from Imperia that he is helping Shenderze. And this is where my speculation comes in. You see, my personal headcanon is that as his final sacrifice, Dragonas asks Skriok to take his own wings and give them to Shenderze, and this deal between them ends up turning Dragonas into the new vengeful spirit and Shenderze back to her former self with wings, allowing her to take down Imperia without Dragonas intervening, which essentially means Dragonas will be able to restore Shenderze back as the rightful queen while also staying true to his oath as he isn't the one taking down Imperia. And that is the general gist of what I think their Arcana story will be like based on all of the research that I did for that unreleased video. And like I pointed out earlier, these minimap icons that were leaked recently does seem to support the speculative story that I just talked about, because as you can see, their Arcana icons essentially seem to have swapped skin colors from their base forms. And since it's pretty apparent that Shenderze got this bluish skin color when she gained spirit powers from Skriok and became the vengeful spirit, it's highly likely that Dragonas got this same bluish skin color in his Arcana form as a result of him making a deal with Skriok to swap their destinies or something like that. So I expect Dragonas' Arcana to look like this skin that we already got minus the wings, and Shenderze's Arcana to look either like this artwork or this version that we saw in the Path of Vengeance short film. But either way, if all of the things that I just said does end up happening in the Crownfall update, I would obviously be really happy that my speculations predicted what will end up happening like an year in advance. However, at the same time, I gotta say that I'm kinda frustrated that I didn't get to post that video to properly prove my claims. So I guess at the end of the day, it's totally up to you guys to decide whether or not to trust me on this when the Crownfall update does come around. But moving on, data miners also found files suggesting that this Crownfall update will have an event with Queen of Pain as its boss, and this fact is further supported by a mention of a bar icon, which probably refers to the health bar that we see in every boss battle in the events we had in the past. And since this file states the two colors of the Quap Arcana, there seems to be two variations of this boss wearing the two alternate forms of her Arcana, which actually lines up with what I speculated before, saying that the Crownfall novel will have two storylines for these two heroes. So maybe the reason why there are two variations of this boss is because there are two separate paths to be taken in this event as well. However, I noticed that this Quap boss kinda throws a wrench on the speculations that I made for that unreleased video I mentioned earlier, because the simple fact that Queen of Pain is the boss of this event seems to suggest that maybe Dragonas made a deal with Quap and not Skriok like I initially thought. And if so, the Crownfall novel could be a continuation of the Quap's Arcana comic, because if you guys remember, in her Arcana comic, she made a deal with Knock to gain power to fight her brother Bakor for the throne in Hell. And this is eerily similar to how Shenderze wants to dethrone her sister Imperia and become queen again. So Dragonas may have made a deal with Quap on behalf of Shenderze, and in return he may have offered his help to take down Bakor with Quap. But personally, I still think Dragonas will make the deal with Skriok and not Quap, simply because thematically them making a deal makes perfect sense, especially when you consider that skin tone swap thing that I pointed out earlier. And this assumption is further supported by some other leaked files that mentions about a treasure themed after Skriok, which does indicate that she will be involved in the Crownfall storyline like I expected. And as you can see, it's a chest that will have tiers and rarities, suggesting that it will be one of those chests that have to be unlocked via a key and will have cosmetics separated into tiers based on their rarity. And actually, a couple of skins for Drow Ranger and Crystal Maiden was found in the files, and they mention things like Crownfall and Skriok, which indicates that they will be featured in the Skriok's chest and will be released in the Crownfall update. And although we don't really know what other items will be featured in this chest, since we are now getting the Skywrath Mage Arcana that was leaked a while back, there is a chance chance that other leaked skins that never got released might be featured in this treasure, which includes that Broodmother persona that I made a community post about, where I said that it will probably make her look more humanoid like Dryder from Dungeons and Dragons. And I also noticed that Muerta has an armor slot that currently has no use in her base skin, so there is a chance that an armor slot immortal for her could be featured in this chest. And if I had to take a guess, since Muerta already have a connection to the Revenant's brooch item, I think this upcoming immortal could be based on the Nether Shawl item, as it is on theme with her ethereal related abilities. So all in all, I think this whole Crownfall update will be similar to the Dead Reckoning event that we had for Muerta, because we know for a fact that Valve ditched the Battle Pass model. And speaking of Battle Passes, there are actually files indicating that they are planning a Candyworks shop for this update. However, if you look closely, you can see that the timestamp for this is actually on October 27th, 2022, which might make you think that these files refer to the Candyworks shop that already happened in 2022 in the Tier 11 Battle Pass. But the interesting thing is that the actual date of the Battle Pass Candyworks was different, and the title of these files clearly state that they are referring to a Crownfall Candyworks 2022. So this gives definitive proof that this Crownfall event was originally meant to be part of the Tier 11 Battle Pass way back in 2022, and this assumption is further supported by the fact that this Battle Pass contained the Faceless Void's Arcana, which, like I said before, was leaked before the Tier 11 Battle Pass along with the Skywrath Mage Arcana, suggesting that this Arcana, this Candy Workshop and every other content related to this Crownfall update was in the works as early as 2022. And all of this would sort of explain the New Frontiers trailer. You see, it's pretty clear that the reason why they featured Skywrath Mage and Vengeful Spirit in this trailer is to represent the duality of the two ancients. However, ever since I watched it, I couldn't help but think that them being featured in this trailer may have also doubled down as a teaser for their upcoming Arcanas, simply because, like we discussed in this video, leaks regarding their possible Arcanas was found way before the New Frontiers update. And what's interesting is that in the New Frontiers update, we actually got to see this circus sticker that was an obvious teaser for Ringmaster's upcoming release, which is the same hero who, according to that minimap sprite sheet, is about to be released together with these Arcanas. So the fact that all of these things happened in the New Frontiers update, and those files that mentioned about the Drow and CM skins literally say Crownfall 2023, seems to suggest that they once considered releasing this Crownfall update soon after the New Frontiers update sometime last year in 2023, but for some reason it was delayed up until this year. So it's pretty likely that these Arcanas could be the Arcanas that Valve kept alluding to, giving us reasons to why they were being delayed multiple times in various blog posts every other month, with the most recent one being the Dragon's Gift blog post where they stated that they wanted to give us players content before Crownfall, suggesting that after all this time they still want more time to finish this update. So this could either mean that they were so lazy that they dragged this on for almost 2 years and maybe even more, or they may have accidentally deleted the files relating to the content of this update that they literally had to recreate everything from the start. Or if we are being really optimistic, we can say that their plan is something really huge for this update, and that is why it's taken this long. But after thinking for a bit, I found a plausible reason for this long delay. You see, the nature of these Arcanas requires them to do a complete overhaul of their base form animations, where they have to remap both of these heroes' wing slot cosmetics to essentially make a walking hero into a flying one and a flying hero into a walking one. And although this is cool and all, I personally don't like such an overhaul, simply because such Arcanas will make these heroes drastically different from their base forms, meaning that in-game they will essentially feel like completely new heroes. And if you really think about it, these skins actually run the risk of looking like gender-swapped versions of these two heroes' base forms, almost feeling like their personas, which does open up the possibility that maybe these skins are both personas and some sort of inverse Arcanas at the same time, which would explain why Dragonus looks like Vengeful Spirit and Chendezer looks like Skywrath Mage. But regardless of what will happen, this is definitely a huge change from what we saw in early Arcanas, because initially they did micro overhauls of the hero's base form, like making PA and LC switch from wielding a single weapon into wielding two weapons. But in the past few years, I noticed that they started pushing the boundaries of what cosmetics are capable of. And one example of this is that in the past, custom animations of multiple skins would just override one or the other. But then they introduced the Faceless Void's Arcana, which instead of overriding the existing immortal custom animation for Chronosphere, it actually works together to create a mixed effect. And the Faceless Void's Arcana introducing this innovation actually explains the whole delay with the Skywrath Mage Arcana, because we know that initially both of these Arcanas were leaked together, but the fact that only the Faceless Void's Arcana was released first suggests that although they successfully implemented the mixed custom animation effect for the Faceless Void's Arcana, they probably couldn't figure out how to implement the walking Skywrath Mage and the flying Vengeful Spirit Arcanas back then. But now that they outwardly announced the name of this update in this blog post, shows that they might have figured out how to implement these Arcanas and are finally ready to release them. And speaking of releases, let's talk about the release date of this update, which is currently unknown, but since, like I said before, some people already knew that the Crownfall update was gonna revolve around these two lovers, so rightfully they expected expected this update to be released on Valentine, which to be honest would have been the perfect release date for the Arcanas of this couple. But since that didn't happen, I gotta say that Valve really missed the opportunity there. And actually it also got me wondering if they delayed this update yet again. But then they released this blog post stating that the Crownfall update will be out in mid-April. And this plus the fact that we are expecting the Ringmaster hero to be released in this update allowed me to pinpoint the exact release date of this update, which is April 17th, because I found out that it is actually the World Circus Day, which obviously would be the perfect release date for this circus themed hero, and it also lines up with the mid-April release date of the Crownfall update stated here. And looking back now, I sort of feel like their original plans may have been to release these Arcanas on Valentine's Day and then release the Ringmaster on the World Circus Day. But somehow this whole plan ended up being delayed, probably because of one of the reasons that we discussed before. And this plus all of the stuff that we discussed in this video would explain why the Ringmaster is seemingly gonna be released in this Crownfall update despite having no real connection to its storyline, which is very unfortunate because I feel like his release might be overshadowed by all of this Crownfall related stuff. However, the fact that his minimap icon is located after these Arcanas does open up the possibility that he could be released after the Crownfall update in an update dedicated just for him around the time of the World Circus Day. But either way, I really hope that we don't have to wait too long for his release because it's been a while since we last got a new hero. And all of this brings us to the last thing that we can expect from this update, which are new items, because all big updates have them. And I have a feeling that at least some of the items that I have in mind might be released in this update. So although I was originally going to make videos talking about all of these items in detail, I'm just going to briefly go over them here because even if they don't get released, I can always talk about them later in dedicated videos like I initially planned. So the first item we can expect is a universal blink upgrade, because for the longest time we didn't have an all-stat counterpart for these three items that are used to make the existing blink upgrades. And now that the ultimate orb costs the same amount as them and grants all stats, we might finally get a universal blink upgrade. And because of its build up, I think it should be called the ultimate blink and should live up to its name by no longer getting muted when you take damage like all of the other blink variations. And if this universal blink does get released into the game, we can expect them to eventually release universal versions of items like San, Yasha and Kaya later down the line. And moving on, we can also expect them to release some of the leaked items from the past, because if you guys remember, I made a couple of videos talking about 7 leaked items, and since I already talked about them in those videos, I'm not gonna talk about them here, so make sure to check out those videos by using the links in the description if you want more details on this topic. But what's important is that some of the speculations that I made about those items did turn out to be true, and 3 of those 7 items actually ended up getting released into the game, suggesting that the other 4 will probably be released sooner or later, especially this Hermes Sandals item, because in that aforementioned video I explained how this item will be a face boots upgrade that will grant its user flying movement when you activate it. And since the Crownfall storyline is all about Venture's fate regaining her wings, this item will be on theme with this update and will probably be released in it. But anyways, following the leak of these 7 items, there were a couple of more items that were leaked that I didn't really get to make videos on. But one of those items is really interesting because it was leaked multiple times under different names until its most recent leak in 7.35, where it settled on the name Ethereal Hammer, and its leaked file stated that it will have this build up. However, I think this is a mistake because this item's name and effect suggests that its real build up will be something like this instead. But either way, the fact that it builds from a meteor hammer makes me think that it might be the removed Fallen Sky item making a return with a couple of new changes. And therefore, I'm pretty sure that this item, which currently uses a banana placeholder icon, will reuse the Fallen Sky item's icon when it's released. And the reason why I think it will be released soon is because in all of its iterations, its main gimmick have always been the AoE enhancing mechanic that was implemented to the game in the 7.35 update, which was the same update that this item was last leaked in, meaning they probably wanted to introduce this mechanic with this item's release, but for some reason they didn't end up releasing this item, so they just gave this power to the Bloodstone item in that same update, which explains why it became the only item that suddenly got this weird new mechanic out of nowhere, meaning it's only a matter of time before this Ethereal Hammer will make its way into the game. And that concludes everything that we might see in this upcoming Crownfall update. And like we discussed throughout this video, the content of this update and this update itself seem to have been delayed a bunch of times over the last couple of years. So I really hope there will be no more delays so that we can finally see what the Crownfall update is all about. And speaking of which, you may have noticed that this video is a bit longer than the videos that I usually make. Well, the reason for that are the delays that this update went through, because all of those delays meant that I literally had to cram a bunch of stuff that happened over the last couple of years into this one video. And on top of that, as you guys may know, I stopped posting around the time the New Frontiers update came out, so obviously I didn't get to make dedicated videos on topics like the Ringmaster and the Skywrath Mage Arcana like I pointed out earlier in the video. And as a result, I had to talk about all of that in this video as well, as they too are related to the Crownfall update, which ended up making this video longer than usual. That's it for this video, guys. If you guys like this video, don't forget to like, share and subscribe and turn on notifications for more videos like this, and comment down below and let me know what you guys think about this upcoming Crownfall update, because I would really like to know what you guys think. And also guys, the links for all of the videos that I mentioned in this video will be in the description box below, so make sure to check them out if you like. And with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video.